This time on Fifth Gear, I drive Kia's fastest ever car to see if he can beat an Audi S5 around the track. Jonny and I find out if a campervan or caravan offers the best way to take on the great outdoors.
I can't cope. It's just taking way too long.
The team hit a supermarket car park to find out if the Dacia Duster is the family car we should all be driving.
You're familiar with the Dacia?
I'm a bit of a car snob.
OK.
Jimmy DeVille shows how to give an old Ford Puma modern stopping power.
And on.
And snooker legend and petrol head Ronnie O'Sullivan spends the day behind the wheel of Hyundai's new high-tech hydrogen-powered SUV.
It's steering me back to the left-hand lane. Wow, that is clever.
Hello and welcome to Fifth Gear in scorching Yorkshire. Yeah.
It's a bit cold.
Yeah.
We're on holiday in the UK together. By mistake.
Here's the scenario. You want to go camping, but life under canvas just doesn't cut it. What do you do?
Well, how about a campervan or a caravan? JP and I are going head-to-head with two different touring setups, each sleeping 4 people and each worth around 60 grand, to see which is best.
Do you go for a car and a caravan combo, or do you go for a dedicated campervan?
You want a caravanette?
A caravanette, a term that nobody's used since the 70s apart from Jason Plato.
I've got this luxurious Mercedes Marco Polo Caravanette /campervan. Prices for these start at £50,000, although my spec'd-up model, the 250D Sport, is a little bit more.
While I'll be trying out the Antares 485 Caravan. This costs around 20 grand, which means I've got enough cash left over to bolt this smart Volvo XC60 to the front. And I'll be testing that as well.
Everybody hates a caravan. They clog up the roads, you can't get past them.
We've got 2 days to decide which one offers the best overall camping experience and value for money.
Let's camp.
I want to have a look at yours.
Camp right off.
Come on.
I sort of feel like I'm dressed for a holiday. I've arrived and the climate is not as expected.
I'm regretting putting my baggy shorts on this morning.
You can knock caravans all you like, but one thing you can't criticise is the space. Particularly when you're a 6'3" camper like me. Just look at my luxurious double bed.
Imagine, when you're tired and you just can't be bothered. You just want to get straight on. Like so, like that. That is a full-size fridge. Real storage. Look at this, full height again for all my suits. That's a full-width bathroom.
Oh, proper loo as well.
Proper lab.
I've got bathroom envy now.
This is currently a lounge area, or at night time, either 2 singles or a double. So, this is the Caravan 485 Antares. What do you think? It's all right.
Well, yes, it is all right if you like flat-pack furnishings. But as I've spent a fair bit of time in big American-style motorhomes at various race circuits, the Marco Polo was the obvious choice of the two.
Oh,
Look at it, check that.
It is slick.
So this is the caravanette. And this is the kitchenette in the caravanette.
Well, first of all, flooring. Hello. I like it.
Mercedes have teamed up with campervan specialist Westphalia to design and fit this plush bespoke interior, which Mercedes claim is reminiscent of a hotel bedroom.
We've got a larder fridge.
Nice. Hob.
A hob.
Very nice piano black finish here.
I've got a sink for me to do with flat flannel washing in the morning.
That's going to be awkward.
My dining table.
I was wondering where that was.
There's no doubt it's a clever use of limited space.
Well,
Table for one. Whoosh. This pops up. Double bed upstairs.
yeah, cubby up there. Look at this. So you've got a bit of stowage going on here. Soft plate.
Yeah,
That's better than my kitchen at home.
Do you know what? It's good quality.
It's built to last, and I think that's immediately apparent.
See?
He's on it. He's on it.
I hate to admit it, but as well packaged and well finished as the Marco Polo is, the Caravan's greater room gives it the edge so far. But the proof is in the driving. So, it's time to up sticks and get a move on to the campsite. And I suspect Mr. Smith is going to find towing that big thing a bit of a bind.
But I've got a luxurious Volvo to do the donkey work for me, Jace. You're basically driving a big van.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not going to lie, trying to get this caravan over this little bridge is a bit of a challenge.
Jonny, are you doing that on purpose, going that slow?
Did you see how close to that wall I was?
Well, you chose the caravan, mate.
Oh, no. There's a car.
And then there's another problem, clogging up the road and slowing up the oncoming traffic.
Thank you. You've got to wave at people and be extra considerate as a caravaner because you are annoying people wherever you go on the road.
I can't cope. I can't cope. It's just taking way too long.
I'd choose vroom over room any day.
Do you know what? This Marco Polo from Mercedes-Benz, it's a pretty nice space to be, actually. It's comfortable, it drives well. 2.5-litre engine, diesel, obviously. It'll do 16 under 10 seconds, and it'll top 130 miles an hour. So you can get places on the continent pretty quickly.
Yeah, but remember, for about the same money, I've got a whole caravan and an XC60, which was the best-selling premium SUV in Europe when it was launched. So there.
It's comfortable, it's luxurious, it's very quiet. This can tow up to 2,400 kilos of braked load.
So we're on the road and settling into our rides. Join us later as we attempt to set up camp.
I reckon I'd be a good pit crew, Plato.
Come on, pub's open.
Next, it's time for a fifth gear team test. And we're about to get a quick first look and first drive of a brand new car. And we've invited petrolhead Ronnie O'Sullivan and car modder extraordinaire Jimmy DeVille along for the ride. Today, we tested the Dacia Duster. The Duster is the cheapest car in its class, with prices starting at just £9,000. There is a four-wheel drive model, but we're testing the mid-range two-wheel drive version. Boys, this is the Dacia, as in Thatcher, Duster.
Don't like it.
It's the worst car I've ever seen in my life. I know it's a cheap car and it's supposed to be aimed at the cheap market, but I still think they could have done a better job making it look a little bit nicer.
I think it just looks like a nice, functional car.
Yeah.
It's a mode of transport, isn't it?
It's just what
Rugged
it is.
and ready.
This is a good grassroots motor, so yeah, happy to see it here.
Come on, then.
Come see. So new to the Dacia Duster range. Armrest on the driver's seat.
Now that's an upgrade.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, you're not going to have really plush carpets and loads of leather anywhere. You won't get that for the money. But the plastics in there are perfectly fine, and it's a robust interior.
Space in the back, is it all right?
Yeah, no, it's actually quite comfortable.
Can I draw your attention to something amazing that probably Jason's never seen before? Ronnie, to your right-hand side, there is a place for you to put your rear seatbelt. Pull your rear seatbelt out.
Look at that! That is so simple. Why has no one else done that?
Yeah.
This is all about the inside, this car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mixed first impressions from us, but the Dacia is aimed at families who want a budget runaround. So let's see if we can find some of the people who might actually buy it. Off to the supermarket. So you're feeling the Dacia love at the minute, anyone?
But do you know what? I was expecting it to be noisier and a bit more agricultural and tinny than it is. It's OK, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's it like to drive?
It's pleasantly OK. I would like a bit more power, so I'd look forward to the petrol turbo engine that's coming in 2019. I always want more power, though. The steering wheel's quite light.
Do you know what, though? Do you know what the most popular ice cream is? Vanilla. That's all right, isn't it?
What a brilliant analogy.
I think it's slightly more than vanilla. I think there's a little bit of raspberry sauce in there.
Ooh!
It's a well-equipped, comfortable car.
It does make you think perhaps we're all getting slightly ripped off by the other manufacturers.
I think the best thing about this car is the name, Duster.
The Duster.
I'm taking Duster out.
Oh, watch out, Vix, there's a speed bump there.
Don't worry, we're in some sort of, crossover SUV. I can get over this. Yeah, it's all right.
We took it down to the local supermarket to find out what people thought.
And what car do you drive?
Some.
Okay, you got Tucson, okay.
Which I chose over it.
Ah, so you're familiar with the
Yes.
Dacia, okay. But were you not tempted with the price?
I'm a bit of a car snob.
Okay.
How much do you reckon a car like this would cost you?
26,000.
So would your jaw hit the floor when I told you you could get this very car in front of you for a little bit more than £13,000, brand new?
Look, plenty of space. Get the grandkids in there. Bit of shopping.
Yep.
I never thought I would see Ronnie becoming a car salesman. It was like something took the man over.
Two suitcases in there.
Yep.
Plenty, eh?
Yeah, very nice.
He was the one that liked it least, and then he was there bigging it up.
Next time we go looking for a car, Duster.
So the Duster managed to win over some people by the end of the day. But what will the team score it?
I'm going to give the Dacia Duster 8 out of 10. Ooh.
There were two things I liked about the Duster, and that was the name, Duster, and the price tag. So I'm going to give it a generous 3.
It does exactly what it says it's going to do, so I'm going to give it a very credible 7 out of 10.
The Dacia Duster scores a healthy 7.
Which gives the Dacia Duster a team test score of 25 out of 40.
Still to come, can Kia's first attempt at a performance coupe cut it against German opposition?
That pushes out 510 newton-meters of torque. It's a big number.
Gonna be tight.
And Jonny and I spend our first night on holiday together, out on the cold, dark moors.
Hey, well, Jonny,
Yes?
how do I flush the loo?
Oh, don't, you haven't already.
Right then, let's adjourn to our Anglesey track for a fifth gear shootout. The mission is simple. Put two like-minded cars together and find out which is quickest. This time, it's a couple of coupes that offer seriously brisk performance without costing an absolute fortune. The first is the Audi S5 coupe. It's got 345 horsepower, gets to 62 miles an hour in 4.7 seconds, and costs £47,000. The second is the Kia Stinger GTS, which represents Kia's first foray into the sporty coupe market. It's a touch more powerful, but a bit heavier, so it's a fraction slower to 62. But here's the real headline. It's £7,000 cheaper than the Audi. Both cars combine fun with comfort, but can the new boy from Korea possibly compete with all that German know-how? Time to find out. Let's start with the Audi spec.
With nearly 350 horsepower and 500 newton-meters of torque, it isn't to be sneezed at. And that power comes courtesy of an all-new turbocharged 3-litre V6 engine, which is more powerful than the old S5 motor, even though it's got 2 cylinders less. The grip's pretty good. It's a bit understeery, but then again, that's Audi. So you've got to be a bit brutal, so have a little flick, and the rear comes round. There's still a layer of stability control, which you can't remove. So it's a little bit of a shame, because, you know, I want to turn all the toys off. Anyway, time for a hot lap. The electronics are working overtime there, a little bit of ABS. Back to understeer again. Safe, but a bit dull. Best part of 120 mile an hour, and we're on the brakes. There we go, all right, let's get a good clean end to the lap.
So the Audi S5 crosses the line in 1 minute, 21.2 seconds. Frankly, the newcomer's credentials will have to be pretty impressive to challenge that. Let's start with what's under the bonnet.
It's a 3.3-litre V6 with the obligatory turbo. You know, that pushes out 510 newton-meters of torque, which is it's a big number. Now, in terms of the chassis, Kia have nicked one of the lead developers of the BMW M programme to try and sort out the chassis, so it should go around corners. The stability programme feels kind of like first generation or beta. It tends to all of a sudden panic and then start jumping on the brakes. I'm being hard on it, but you've got to be in this sector of the market. Let's have a quick one and see how we get on. Understeer before I'm anywhere near the corner.
At the first checkpoint, the Kia is just half a second behind the Audi.
All the cars on the move at the rear, but the unintelligent ESP is just grabbing at the brakes. It's a similar sort of speed, 120. The car's moving around a bit. It's heavy on the brakes.
But by the second checkpoint, it'd fallen behind by a whole second.
I don't like it. Yeah, the Audi's going to be quite a lot quicker. Definitely. Sorry, Kia. I'm not a fan.
And we eventually crossed the line in 1 minute 23.2. That's a whopping 2 seconds behind the German. So although Kia are starting to dip their toes in the super coupe market, they've still got an awful lot of catching up to do. So far in our big Campervan versus Caravan challenge, we've checked out the fixtures and fittings.
I've got bathroom envy now.
Before hitting the open road.
Oh no, there's a car.
To have a look at the driving and manoeuvrability skills of our respective rigs. I've chosen the 60 grand Mercedes Marco Polo Campervan, and I'm very happy with its agility and speed.
I can't cope. It's just taking way too long.
Whilst for about the same money, I've gone for the extra space in the Antares 485 Caravan, towed along by a stylish Volvo XC60.
But now we want to find out what they're like to drive in an urban environment. Well, as urban as you can get, you know, up north in Dales.
Have we chosen the narrowest village to tow a caravan through? Oi, Plato, is this your idea coming through here?
But it's not bad, is it?
It's a beautiful village, although I'm spending most of my time looking in my mirrors.
And big extension mirrors are a must for us caravan drivers who have no vision through the car's rear window.
While I've got no problem whatsoever when it comes to looking backwards. Leaving Jonny to negotiate tight gaps.
Oh, I'm onto the curb.
I make a break for it. We'd arranged to meet at a cafe down the road, and it wasn't long before I got to the RV point and stretched my legs with a nice cup of Yorkshire tea.
Dull, aren't they? Caravans. Yeah.
Marco Plato, how are you?
I'm good. That's stone cold.
Is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, how long you been?
Well, I've been a little bit longer than you.
Oh no. I've been leaning on your wonky mirror, on your mirror accoutrement. Come on, we've got to go.
Already?
Well, yeah.
Dusk was closing in, and we need to get to that campsite.
So I'm actually not really parking?
I'm off.
All right, well, onwards.
So, in a clear demonstration of the ease and convenience of the Marco Polo, I simply started the engine and headed off.
But before I could leave, I had to try and turn this beast around.
This is where it's sort of more stressful than it ought to be.
If you're thinking of buying one of these, make sure you've got a degree in trigonometry so you can actually work out how to move the thing.
Kind of landlocked a little. Plato.
Mate, what are you doing? Where are you?
I'm still in the car park where you left me.
Well, you're still trying to get out?
Yes. Shut up. You will be there and you'll put your towel down first. However, I've got the bigger bedroom and the bigger kitchen.
Eventually, I was back on the road.
Well, I've probably got time to get a cup of tea on, maybe have a shower, something like that. Because he's going to take his time getting here.
We are nearly at our overnight stop. I suspect Mr. Marco Plato will be already there, and he might have a bit of a surprise because I've chosen the overnight stop.
But I'd already arrived at the campsite. Well, if you can call it that.
This is a field.
I've got a good toilet on board with all the chemicals. I've got water. I know what I'm doing.
Parked up, all I had to do to transform the interior of the Marco Polo into a lounge was spin around the front seats. That's easier said than done. And then,
Roof up. Now we're talking.
Gonna be tight.
So, setting up for me, except possibly the seats, has been a short and straightforward affair.
Smell nature.
You told me this was going to be a campsite.
No, so we're gonna camp.
I'm not seeing a toilet block, a shower block. I'm not seeing any of that.
Behold, toilet block, shower block.
I mean, that is lush, isn't it?
Oh, my.
But before I could enjoy any scenery, I needed to get the caravan set up for the night.
Jockey wheel down, handbrake on. I've got to do the corner steadies.
I reckon he was only helping me because I said I'd let him use the caravan's facilities.
I reckon I'd be a good pit crew, Plato.
Come on, pub's open.
I'm doing it.
Johnny?
Yes?
How do I flush the loo?
Oh, don't, you haven't already. Take up the slack on this bad boy.
After 45 minutes of precision levelling, my mobile home from home was ready.
As it was getting late, we ditched the idea of trying out our respective kitchen facilities until breakfast. It came up with a much better idea. To the boozer for chicken in a basket and a cold one. Or two. With the sun setting and no jackets, it was time to head back to camp and heat up a bit.
Yeah, but I'm pre-warmed.
You're pre-warm?
Oh, yeah. I've had the heaters on since all the way at the pub.
I can hear it.
Step into the sauna. Just feel
How
that.
hot? Oh, my goodness. It's like, what have you set it to? What have you set it to?
38.
38?
Yeah, it's on care.
With the Marco Polo all nice and cosy, I just had to decide where I should lay my head for the night.
I'm tempted to try a bit upstairs and then try down here and see which one I like the better.
I think this is a bigger bed.
So after tucking Jason in for the night, I headed back to my much colder van and settled down.
Join us later for the final day of our adventure, when we decide once and for all which is the best 60 grand camping experience. After the break, custom car builder Jimmy DeVille upgrades a modern classic to give it the stopping power it's always deserved.
The braking on this car is a lot sharper.
And Ronnie O'Sullivan takes reverse parking to the next level.
Banging perfect. How clever is that?
Next up, custom car builder, an all-round mechanical marvel, Jimmy DeVille shows us how we can all easily upgrade our wheels.
This time, I've got a Ford Puma in the workshop. The Puma was a spiritual replacement for the much-missed Ford Capri. But by the time the Puma was launched in 1997, the world's appetite for sporty coupes was on the wane. But don't discount this car, because its low and light design, coupled with a great chassis, gave it fantastic handling. And 20 years on, a decent Puma can now be yours for under £700. Few cars for that money offer so much driving fun on the road, or, like this one that I've stripped out, the track.
Ford did in fact produce a racing Puma, which was called, funnily enough, the Ford Racing Puma. It is, however, quite rare and relatively expensive. It's a lot easier and cheaper to get your hands on a bog-stand one, a little bit like this one here.
Admittedly, the Racing Puma did go a bit better than the standard one, but what it really did well was stop better.
You see, the Ford Puma was meant to be an affordable car, and that meant that back in the late 90s, although you got disc brakes on the front, on the rear, you got drums. I mean, come on, that is ancient technology, and it's no wonder the Ford Racing Puma, with its disc brakes front and rear, stopped a lot better.
So today, I'm going to give my Ford the stopping power it really deserves by fitting discs, a modification many vehicles of this era with factory-fit drums could benefit from. With more powerful brakes, you can brake later into a corner, giving you that performance edge. And disc brakes will also have the ability to cool faster than the older sealed drums, so less brake fade. Prior to beginning the upgrade, I took the Puma out on the road and tested the G-force it pulled under braking. Once fitted, I'll run the test again to show me the improvement with discs.
The great thing about Fords is that a lot of Ford parts are interchangeable with other Fords, and I've discovered that the rather excellent Ford Focus ST disc brakes will fit straight onto the Puma.
This disc conversion will set you back about 500 quid, and trust me, that's going to be a value for money in terms of the performance advantages.
All you need to do this job is a fairly basic mechanics toolkit and this, a brake bleeding kit. Now, because I've got this, I could do the job on my own, but today I've got my trusty mate Paul with me, so I'm going to do this side while he does the other. All right with you, mate?
Yep.
Right, it's time for us to get cracking.
Once the wheels are off, undo the big nut in the middle of the drum and off it comes. As you can see, the drums work by pushing the two brake shoes against the inside of the rotating drum. Not the most efficient way to apply a braking force compared to a modern disc.
All of this is going to go, but I do need to reuse this nut, so I'm going to keep this somewhere safe. To do this job, Paul and I are using a lift, but it's not needed. We're just doing it so we can work at a comfortable height. You could do this job on the ground using axle stands and a trolley jack. And you buy yourself, if you're a budding mechanic, a set of those for under £100. Well worth doing.
Next, the handbrake cable needs to be pried free of the brake shoes. And with that disconnected, the brake shoes themselves can be removed. The next step is to disconnect the brake pipe. The brakes are operated by pumping brake fluid down the pipe under pressure. So, to stop it leaking away, the rubber section must first be clamped. The rest of the assembly is removed by taking off a few simple bolts that attach the unit to the mounting point.
Before I can fit the new brake kit, there's two jobs left to do. First job is to change the handbrake cable because the end won't fit the new brakes. This one will. The second job is just to clean this all off with a wire brush so the new brakes go on nice, square and tight.
Now we're ready to fit the new disc brakes, starting with the spindle. This fits onto the suspension using the same bolt holes as the drum assembly. Next, the hub goes on.
Paul, chuck us the big bar.
Which is secured by the big nut I removed earlier. Then the disc itself slides onto the studs of the hub. Then the caliper, complete with brake pads, slides over the disc and secures with a couple of bolts. Bleeding the brakes involves pushing fresh brake fluid through the pipes, which removes any trapped air.
OK, Paul, pump it.
If there are any air bubbles in the pipes, the brakes won't work properly due to lack of pressure in the system.
It's really important that you check your brake fluid regularly. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs water. And when it absorbs too much, it doesn't work properly. And even worse than that, if you had an accident because your brakes weren't working properly, your insurance could be null and void.
Finally, it's time to get those wheels back on and we're ready for a test drive. Ignore the interior, this Puma is a work in progress.
OK, so already I can feel the braking on this car is a lot sharper than the standard Ford Puma.
But I want to find out exactly how much more responsive these new brakes are.
So on this phone, I have, oh, there we go, a G-Force app. And that's going to tell me exactly how much of a G I pull when I brake. Science, I know. We know the standard car pulls 0.7 of a G when stopping at its optimum rate. What will this car pull now? It's got uprated discs. There's only one way to find out.
Caution, you need an empty road to perform this sort of test.
And on. 0.78! We have just beaten this by 0.08. Now, I know that's not a great deal, but I have just done that in absolutely heinous conditions. The roads are wet, but not only that, they're greasy and my tyres just want to lock up. And I've beaten it by 0.08. Now, that might not sound a lot, but that means that in perfect conditions with new tyres, this thing is going to stop on a dime. This was a job well worth doing.
Next up, we're spending a day with snooker legend Ronnie O'Sullivan. We've let him loose with the all-new hydrogen-powered electric SUV from Hyundai, the Nexo. But before we hit the road, he's going to show us what he's driving right now.
All right, this is my Audi RS4. I like the shape of it, nice colour, nice low-profile wheels. For me, doing a lot of miles up and down motorways, it's probably the best car that you could have. Right, this one is the R8 V10 Plus. This is just pure happiness. Every time I get in this, I get excited, I would recommend anyone that likes performance and sports cars to ditch the Porsche 911 and just go straight for the R8. Nothing like it.
It's clear Ronnie is a massive petrol head, so what's he going to make of this 60 grand Nexo?
I've never really been a lover of SUVs, to be honest with you. I had a Q7 once and it lasted a week, but this one looks quite pretty. Not a bad looking car. It's quite sporty. I like the matte finish on it. It's not too in your face. Yeah, quite simple. Nice big screen. Kind of looks all right, doesn't it? For an SUV, it's not bad.
Today, he'll be using the Nexo to run errands around his northeast London patch.
First impressions are, I actually really like the seating position. I like the cockpit. I like the size of the steering wheel. It feels quite nice in the hand. I think the quietness is something you could probably get used to. You know, instead of seeing your rev counter flying around, you think, oh, I can hear the grunt of the engine here. I can just see, well, I'm in full power mode. And it's got a nice bit of pickup. It doesn't feel like I'm driving a big car, which is always a plus for me.
So far, so good. And if you're wondering how hydrogen-powered cars like this Nexo work, allow me to explain. Although hydrogen gas is flammable, you don't ignite it, as in a petrol engine, to generate power. Instead, it passes through a cell stack that fuses it chemically with oxygen. It's similar to the reaction that allows a battery to produce power, but the cell in this case is fueled by the hydrogen tank. As long as the cell has a feed of hydrogen, it can continue to produce an electric current that powers the electric motor. The only thing to come out of the exhaust as a result of the reaction is pollution-free water.
Right, we've arrived at my first stop, which is the gym.
Ronnie tries to get to his local boxing club as often as possible to let off a bit of steam. And after a few rounds of sparring, it's time to find out if his boxing chums think this high-tech SUV can go the distance.
Do you like it?
I like the colour.
You like the colour?
Yeah.
What about the shape?
Yeah, it's nice.
Get in it, sit in it, mate.
What's the leg room like?
Leg room's not
I've got
bad.
little legs, it's good.
Go on, get in there.
It's like a spaceship. It does feel comfortable.
Bit futuristic, isn't it?
That's good, that is.
Would you swap it for the roller?
Yes.
Would you?
On a day-to-day basis, 100%.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up for the Hyundai.
Definitely a thumbs up.
So, a resounding endorsement from the boys at the gym. But with an electric motor powertrain, Ronnie does have one Nexo niggle that he's missing from his supercars.
To have no gears, I like to play around with gears. So, like, I'm in here, I want to kind of find a bit more acceleration. Normally, I'd kick it down and I'm away. It's got a horsepower of 163, which is quite low, really. It does 0 to 60 in 9.4 seconds. It's no fly machine, but it is a family car.
Now it's time for a bit of grocery shopping. And as Ronnie has been finding out, the Nexo has some exciting technology to go with those futuristic looks.
How clever is that?
If reverse parking isn't your forte, this car will do it for you. Brilliant.
Look at that. Bang in, perfect. Incredible. Right, shopping time. Raspberries, packet of them. Perfect. Don't need a human to park the car. You don't need a human to take your money.
It's not just a bit of parking magic, though. The Nexo is packed with the latest technology to keep you safe, too, including a system that'll help you stay in the correct lane if your concentration wanders.
If you don't indicate, then I've tried to pull over into the right-hand lane, and it's steering me back to the left-hand lane. Wow, that is clever. So if you're falling asleep at the wheel and you don't want to be going in that lane, it sort of pulls you back over. Is this car actually driving itself? Another thing I like about this as well, it's got that little camera on the wind mirror. Put the indicator on, I can see what's coming down there. I like it.
Next stop for Ronnie is a few practice frames at his snooker club. And he's keen to show fellow professionals Liang Wenbo and Judd Trump the car's nifty self-parking trick he tested earlier.
You like that? Oh, mate. You like this? It's clever, don't it?
That's good.
But how will the Nexo cope without the clear white lines to guide it into place?
Can't leave it there, mate. Come on.
It seems this spot has the Nexo snookered.
Right, cool.
Go.
Sorted. Yeah, I'll come back practice tomorrow.
On to the last job of the day, fueling the Nexo. The car's tank can take 6 kilos of hydrogen because hydrogen is measured by weight, and this takes 5 minutes. However, at the moment there are only 15 hydrogen fuel stations in the UK, and the nearest one to Ronnie's house is nearly 20 miles away. Not ideal.
It's a lot cleaner than petrol, isn't it? Put that back in there. Job done, mate. That wasn't as long as I thought it'd be. So basically, we've just put 22 pounds worth of hydrogen in this car. This takes 6 kilos. We put nearly 2 kilos in. So if I'd have had a full tank, that would mean it would cost me £70 for 400 miles, which ain't bad, really, is it? All we need now is a few more of those. Having driven it, I was really impressed with it. Really good around town, quick off the mark. Actually like the shape of it. I think it's a nice-looking car. Probably the only drawback with the car is obviously having to fill it up with hydrogen. Until they actually build enough of these places where you can buy the hydrogen, it's a bit of a wait-and-see sort of thing. I personally wouldn't pay £60,000 for it. If the price was right, I'd probably buy one. It's a great car.
Coming up, the holidays are ending for me and Jonny in our big camper versus caravan clash. And it's decision time.
If I was paying £66,000 for a camper van, I want to be able to take a poo.
Agreed. If I was spending this kind of money, I would want my own throne.
Now it's time to head back to the Yorkshire Dales where Jason and I are playing happy campers. Well, trying to.
Sales of campervans and caravans have been on the rise in recent years, mainly thanks to people opting for a staycation holiday. So, we are going head-to-head in a campervan versus caravan challenge to try and find out which gives you the best camping experience for 60 grand. Now, I've got the Marco Polo campervan with a bed and a pop-up roof.
Morning. Whilst I'm living it up in this Volvo XC60 and an Antares 485 with a proper double bed.
And after a night in our respective wagons, it's time to get up and discuss how we slept.
It's really comfy up here, actually. Now, this is where I desperately need a shower now. Or do I just not bother? Oh, yeah. You up yet?
Well, morning. I slept very well. Did you sleep well?
Yeah, I slept well in there. The only thing is, because it's so small, you've got to stay organised. There's nowhere to put anything. At least with this, you can just leave it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, there's a lot of storage space.
I'm starting to understand these now.
I like just waking up and pulling back my curtains and going, I'm in the middle of a field. There's a fresh poo by your feet.
Yeah,
that was not there last night.
So where have you put the food then? Where's the food?
We haven't got the food. We didn't get any. We just drove.
You were meant to get the food.
No.
And so with that, it was off to get some breakfast supplies. And this is where my setup comes into its own, because I can simply detach the Volvo and pop to the shops, whereas Plato would have to stow everything away in his van before he could go anywhere.
Volvo are on fire at the moment. I mean, this drives really pleasantly.
I like a Volvo, actually. I think they make brilliant cars. They're understated. They've got an ooze of elegance.
However, I soon found a serious flaw.
What are you doing?
In the sensible Swede.
Car turned off. Don't. That's the honour. No, don't.
Yeah, but I'm just imagining I was a child. And kids can do
I don't need to really imagine, unfortunately, Jason. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Perhaps not the best spot for the car's start-stop button.
Look, there's a shop here.
Oh, this is it. Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute. And I'm not getting any Angel Delight.
Yeah, you will.
Bacon got. It was time to get our breakfast on and test the merits of our camping kitchens.
See, there is something really nice about cooking out in the middle of a field.
First things first, I've got a much bigger kitchen area. Look, I'm standing up, I've got a full oven. Got an electric hob as well, if I want it. That's a chopping board. So if I want to do any prep...
It is awkward. You've got clean down between each process. Otherwise, you've got no space to do anything.
Takes about 20, 30 seconds for the hot water to come through. That is quite hot, actually.
go that way.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There she blows, look.
Right, let's go and see how Johnny's getting on.
That is a hearty two-stage camping breakfast. Oh!
Have you done yours yet?
Yeah, welcome to the Pleasure Dome. Come in. I don't know what plane that is. I'm not up on my planes. Time to assess each other's assets.
So then, Johnny. Caravan, Caravanette.
OK, so when you're not using this, it just sits. That probably sits less because you can use it as a family car. You can use it for day trips. It's all integral. You don't have to unhook. You don't have to have a tow bar. Residual value on those is high. People desire those when they're second-hand.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Caravan loses on the residual values quite heavily. But here we are sitting in my Caravan having breakfast because it's a more pleasurable place to sit. I get a full kitchen.
Full-size bed.
Full-size bed. I've got a shower with actual hot water.
How much is it for a shower?
A £5. The image of your Marco Polo there, people know it's expensive. It looks expensive. It feels expensive. The finish of this is not on the par of that.
No. But it's infinitely better space, isn't it?
It's a perfectly good space, and you can choose what you tug it with. So I've gone for an expensive road car.
It's a great car, that.
See, it's a bit of a gassy bird.
Ordinarily, I'd want to sit here for another half an hour and just let that digest.
Can we not?
We've got to get cracking, and we have to pack up.
So, after 24 hours on holiday together, we're still very much undecided on the coolest camping combos. To try and settle the debate once and for all, we hopped into each other's rides.
I got the van. I can hear Plato's wine bottles clinking around in the back.
Whilst I battled with the towing woes.
It's ages since I've done any towing, and you kind of forget just how cumbersome these things are.
Welcome to the game, my friend. This is what I spent all of yesterday doing. I was enjoying the easier ride. I mean, immediately, it's so much easier to drive than towing anything. Good driving position, way posher than you expect from a commercial vehicle.
And it wasn't long before we'd made our decision.
For a camping trip, I would choose a Caravan, simply because whilst it's not very nice towing these things, the actual experience when you get there is much better. And it does what it says on the tin, whereas the Campervan, unfortunately, doesn't really deliver.
From the outside looking in, one of these Marco Polos, they are very well executed, they look great, but I think once you've pitched up, the reality is maybe slightly disappointing. You're paying a lot of money for a cramped space.
If I was paying £66,000 for a Campervan, I want to be able to take a poo.
Agreed. If I was spending this kind of money, I would want my own throne.
So I'm going to go for the Caravan, but I don't want to drive it back, so can we swap now?
Oh, there's always a clause with you, always a clause.
So the Caravan and car combo wins. Bravo, Volvo and the Antares. Who'd have thought it?